Okay, we back. The only question is, do I even need the streamlight? Yes. Okay, that was a good question. La sleeper. Citizen. To the Greenway. Okay. Just 2 cycles. Mm. Alright, I guess I'll just go work. I mean, for the next couple cycles, these are my only options, really, so. Una mesa para dos. Nobody got paid for this. I'm doing all this work for free. Crud. I'm a communist. You head down into the Haifa compound, following a blue painted line that is labeled laboratories. The member you were assigned to work with told you they'd asked to see you, but you still have no idea what about. The line takes you to a blue door and through to a glass roof chamber where a network of stems leaves filters the sunlight coming through the ceiling, casting the whole chamber in a strange yellow-green. Peaceful, isn't it? Distracted by the green, you miss the woman standing at a lab bench, camouflaged by the dappled lights. Welcome to my sanctuary. She smiles. Come, let's talk, she says, becons you closer. Guess this Dundee, motherfucker. What is this where? My Spanish is broken, like my soul. Here, these were processing centers for the agriculture of the old corporate station. She offers a hand to shake. Soy Rico. I run the botany program at Haifa. What is Haifa? She looks surprised. You've been working in the compound for a while now. I'm surprised you don't know more. She lifts a tiny sample jar. Yellow spores dance inside. Haifa lives off the land of Greenway. It's what allows us to live like we do. No one here pays or is paid. We sleep here, we feed each other, we work for each other. Rico walks away from the bench and waves for you to follow. She opens a small door and leads you down a glass corridor, surrounded by vivid green. All this, she says, gesturing at the overgrowth. It's kind of a miracle. She looks at you with bright eyes. What do you think usually happens when plants on stations like this when they are abandoned? They die? Eventually, yes. They cannot live without intervention. She leads you left at a crossroad, but here they endured. She smiles to herself. Actually, no, they thrived. You look at the bright tendrils wrapped around the metal frames of the cupola door. They look dominant, strong, like they are taking control of this place. Rico continues. Of course, Soheim tried to create a stable biosphere here. Patchwork at the surface with gardens and algae, tanks that feed into a network of microbial reclamation systems. But the Greenway was always envisioned as extractive, a place from which the harvest is removed and sold to those living on the station. Not a closed loop. For this reason, when the collapse came, the Greenway should have gone with it. Elaine was so convinced of it that his first colony never even came up here to try to reclaim it. The Eye instead relied on outside factors and influences, shipments from the other system and small-scale agricultural systems like kelp and fungal farm stacks. And yet here we are among the growth and decay, a biosphere flourishing. When Haifa came here, we expected to only find vacuum-dried stalks and leaves, and perhaps some fungal colonies hidden in the mulch, but we found a jungle, a motherfucking jungle. With this, Rico hits a button on the wall and leads you through a large paled up doors into a huge impossible chamber. It is every kind of green, from the pale algae tanks to the dark vines that surround them. It is wet to a rarity on the eye. Condensation clouds the light from the high glass roof and gathers on the shiny broad leaves of shrubs. Did you do this? Oh no, not me.
It doesn't make sense, but in many ways the system is stabilized. Unlike the farm stacks closer to the gap, he needs to put to support the meager output. This place runs itself.
Perhaps Solheim managed something new here. Perhaps they tweaked the plants or built new systems buried deep below us. Or perhaps there got some fortunate cascade an unlikely chemical reaction within the biosphere. That's what I'd like to do. Help me help find out. She turns you, her forehead wet with dew. Aren't you the botanist? Astutely noticed. But I don't need a botanist. Rico sits on a railing. These halls run deep, sleeper, and I'm getting old. She stamps her foot on the metal grating of the walkway. Whatever's causing this, it's to be found in the grooves deep in the greenway. Half won't spare anyone for an expedition. It's too dangerous, Jenny, and unnecessary. They say I can make the case, but I can't get the votes. Jenny, you sleepers are hardly bands. I know that much, and you can't speak to the eye, Bubba. Uncover its secrets in ways I never can. She holds out an arm so you can help her stand. You old bitch, bring me samples, abuela. Spore seeds and blooms, I can grow them in a lab and study them.
Ooh, and fucking study them.
The deeper they are found, the better, bitch. Better. I'll try. Rikyo leads you back out of the huge chamber and up through the passages. She is a little slower now and stumbles on the steps. You help her when you can. It's good to have a communist. She says many of us have been here a long time and few come through. She settles back at her bench in the lab, stretching her legs. You gotta leave, come back if you find something, sleeper. She calls, there are discoveries to be discovered. And you follow the blue line back up at the compound. All the time thinking of that impossible magical green. Puta madre, puta madre. Holy shit. I could just sleep here. I'm a communist, I'm a dirty red. Alright then, Kaida. You spat on Kaida on the track to the farm stack. She has a box on her shoulder, and is working her way down the slope. She sees you as she approaches. Neither of you speak for a moment. She looks tired, pale, her hair is tangled in clumps of dirt cling to her armor. You both eye each other. Sleeper. She takes a deep breath. I'm sorry for what happened, truly I am. She looks down. I'm sorry you ended up in the middle of this. When all you have shown me is kindness, she grabs her face. I'm sorry. For that, Sleeper. That. She stares at the floor. I'm sorry. She looks up and away, not meeting your eye. What you did is unforgivable. She looks at you. I understand, and kind of shifts the weight of the box on her shoulder. I've been preparing for... She grimaces. Look, she sighs. Can you come with me? It's easier if... If what? You see it, she finishes. It's just down the way. Kind of leads on down the dirt path between the pillars. There is a wind passing through the greenway, a quirk of the air currents the biosphere maintains, and it ruffles the leaves softly. The sound makes the silence more obvious, more complete. You try not to think of the last time you were here. You've been trying not to think of it for the past few cycles. The image of the sleeper, sprawled, twisted open, connected to the ship mind, has been hard to forget. You realize Ankaida is leading you back there. Back into the drum at the center of the stack. You pause, trembling a little. At the threshold, she turns. Stop. She looks at you with empty eyes. Please, her shoulders drop. I need this. You stand on the threshold and look up at the tanks, green and wet, some glowing with flickering grow lamps. You look down at Ankaida, suddenly so small under the hulking rain. She's so the smallest she's ever looked. She places the box down. You turn away quickly and start back up the track. Ankaida puts a hand on your shoulder. Please, Sleeper. I don't like this bitch. She killed one of my kind. For literally no reason. I worked my ass off to get her the damn engine she needed. And then she kills him and the Sleeper because they have her engine. If I had any say, I would say not kill them. You owe me. I got you that fucking engine thing. That's what I owe. You take the shits in turn without saying a word. You continue up the track and she does not follow. As you walk up the rise, the wind picks up and leaves a shudder, and a leaf shudder. You walk faster.
Try to outpace anger.
Try to outpace your anger. The shits are heavy in your pockets, and you hate them for reminding you of how little a life is worth. I treated you so kindly, bitch. I have your dirty money now. Even before you entered the office, you can hear the sound of her bio working the heavy bag. She is hammering it, the chain creaking as it shakes with each hit. She's been like this since. Sabine doesn't finish the sentence. They are sitting on the stool looking at the terminal in the corner, searching through the SNR data you pulled all those cycles ago. She okay? Just angry, we all are. But you have to remember she knew Yannick for a long time. Sabine glances nervously at Rabia. What Essenarp did. Rabia stops punching in silence. You can hear her breathing hard. Sabine looks over at her, and you sense something between them. You realize they haven't seen each other since they tried to kill each other in this same unit. A lot has changed since then. They hooked him up like a puppet. Rabia hits the bag. Rigged that thing in his head so that they could control him. Pushed the old Yannick out. I don't know why you let them in. Rabia throws a few more punches, but it's a lesson. Don't let them in. Another flurry. Yadigan shouldn't deal with corporations, and we never will again. She spits. She comes away from the bag. At least Yannick's death has been treated as natural. There's a chance we come back from this, that Yadigan can hold on. But there are opportunists trying to take control. Sabine turns to you. Yes, but now the connection has been broken. I've been looking at removing the trackers from the implants in Yadigan's enforcers. It's a significant job, but I think with time I can do the surgeries. Rabia walks away from the bag towards the far side of the unit. Those surgeries will never happen if... Rabia walks away from the bag towards the far side of the unit. Those surgeries will never happen if Yadigan collapses. She shouts back at Sabine. Clearly this is a well-worn argument in this unit. What now for you? Sabine looks over at Rabia. I want to help fix this mess if I can. There's the implants and I want to return to my surgery. The low end needs doctors. What I understand now is that Yadigan can be something if we want it to be. Coming here from SNR, from the core worlds, all I saw was a gang. And with Yannick keeping me on a tight leash, they sure. Rabia believes, and I want that belief. They look unsure. I also want to be done with SNR, but I doubt they're done with me. They glance away, rubbing their shoulders. Are you and Rabia? Sabine fixes you with a look. Yes, sleeper, isn't that obvious? They smile. Are they in love? That fits the title. I've been wanting to say, Sabine begins, nervously. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you where I came from. I know I've apologized before, but I want to again. They paused properly. When I leaked the data on the Slaper program, it was to try to help people, like you. Them being in love would not make sense. They grit their teeth. But after all the cycles here being pushed down, pushed around, trying to survive, all that got away from me. So when you turned up, they sigh, it shook me up. They run a hand through their hair, but I ended up here, so they look at Rabia. Oh, of course. They reach into a pocket and take out a handful of vials. These are the last of the case. You can have them. They drop them into your hands. After these last few, I don't know what we can do. With the SNR connection broken, they look down, but I know there are other ways, repairs, other pharmaceuticals. I even heard there are some labs out on the Greenway. Perhaps they can help. They meet your eye. I'm sorry, I can't do anymore. Thank you for everything. They look away, their eyes bright with tears. Rabia crosses back to you both and sits beside Sabine. They look at each other, and you can't but smile at the idea of them together. What are you two plotting? Rabia grins. Sabine laughs, and the sound is a welcome one. You watch the two of them teasing each other and smile. Later, when you leave, you take that handful of vials out of your pocket and look at them. You can still feel the... You know what? Them being in love does make sense. Because of the whole way we met Rabia at her apartment. It kind of does make sense that they're lovers. Okay. Glad we debated that. You take the handful of vials out of your pocket and look at them. You can still feel that core of anger deep down inside. And you know and you don't know if it will ever leave. But SNRP doesn't own you anymore. They can't because this place, these people own you. They are what makes you get up every cycle. They are what keeps you breathing. You put the vials away and walk through the low end. Your senses turn to every sight, every smell, every sound, soaking it all in, living. Or not upgrade point. Wait, is that it? I no longer have a doctor? That sucks. Well, might as well go back to Greenway. I ain't got much to do back over there. I have 3 upgrade points. Okay. We're looking good here. Hell yeah. just need to wait 3 cycles. That's all I need. Rico's grateful for the contribution, Sleeper. Sleeper, Rico greets you without so much as looking up from her work. I have some of yours here, so come see. She beckons you over to a heavyweight-looking console, wired to a series of specimen jars, some of which contain your spores. Where did you get this? This, would you believe she smells, was a Solheim console built to analyze the nutrient contents of the Greenway crop. Haifa have been using these for decades now, although sometimes they need a little tender care. You look at the machine, passed with whole offcuts, the gaps between which reveal a tangled nest of wiring. If you are honest, it looks like it has received a lot of care. The spores you have here are a real cocktail, a selection of types from within the groves. But I've been able to isolate a few. She taps on one of the specimen jars. Here we have Trichoma matsutake. Rico breezes through the Latin and Japanese pronunciations as if it was nothing. A species Solheim somewhat modified for use on the station. She brings up a panel on her console showing a chemical composition, all gradiented bars and obtuse acronyms. This is the composition of the Solheim modified Matsutake spores. Am I supposed to understand that? And not entirely, no, but I think you'll understand this. Rico brings up another panel, identical in layout, but with widely different colors and numbers. You see, this is what your Matsutake spores look like. They are the same. That's a conclusion, yeah. Rico glances at the specimen jar as if it might have something to add. They are fundamentally the same spores, but they have different chemicals, different signals. She leans back and sighs. Solheim may have introduced their own tweaked version in the beginning, but the groves have and still are affecting them. Do they still grow? Exactly, she smiles. What I wondered. She moves to another desk where 2 trays sit side by side, the first containing nothing but plant mulch, the second you smell before you even look at it. The pungent aroma of the fruiting matsutake like rotting. Sodden overalls laced with an Aja spice. The matsutake here grows from Solheim stalks, pulled from a spore vault in the complex. She winks. They are delicious, by the way. She sets them aside. The empty tray is germinated with the spores you collected. No activity, no germination, nothing. You made a mistake? You think this is the first batch I've tried? Please. Rico looks at you directly, and you suddenly realize how much she's enjoying this. So here's our puzzle. Sleeper, spores from the groves won't grow in the lab. But gathering fruit bodies from the groves is too unpredictable. We need to grow a fruiting body from some of these spores, so we can track it, understand it. In short, I need you to become my mushroom farmer. Look, I'm guessing, an educated guess, that the closer these spores are to the groves, the better they will germinate. There's an old dome, the aviary, which sits directly above the grove's vent cores. With a bit of work, it'd make the perfect place to germinate the spores. Rico glances around at the meager lab with its improvised equipment. Look, I do it myself, she waves a crutch, but my farming days are over. I already did that, it's finished. Bring me whatever grows, not just matsutake, There's more than a couple of variants in there, so I'll need plenty of samples. She plucks a Matsutake cap from the tray. These little things are reflections of their conditions, their smell, their taste, their chemistry. It all derives from the conditions of their growth. She smells the cap. Enough of these, and we'll have a picture of what is happening here, of the ways in which the biosphere is modifying itself, or being modified, whatever the case may be. Rico pops the Matsutake cap into her mouth, taking you by surprise. And don't worry, sleeper, she says while softly chewing. If this turns out to be a dead end, I'll make sure that not a single mushroom will go to waste. Okay. Alright. Alright, sleeper. Must express plan before we begin. Neovend is impatient. The prospect of being free of the vending machine clearly too much to take. Shimon has no output features. Will be mute until slotted. You won't be able to speak? Correct. Do not worry. The servo motors in the machine begin to rev. Neovend's anxiety clears. First imprint ship mind. We slot imprinted ship mind into physical push close to hunter nests. Once slotted, we'll track hunter at each. Tracking will find core nest, slot ship mind at core nest, and show hunter data to hunter. Hunter will conclude sentience. Hunter will invoke killer. And killer will kill, yes. The lights on the vending machine cycle as Neovend prepares. Physical parts likely sailed in old station. Will need keys, but yes, simple. The vending machine rocks a little. Any questions before imprinting? What's the core nest? Hunter date keeps central data storage. Protocol must keep data outside self. Link to secondary nests can triangulate from there. Why slot you physically? I cannot access via network. Too dangerous. Hunter will run immediately. The lights flicker. I'm not like you, hybrid. I'm native to cloud, easy prey. That's it, let's start. The sound of all... the sound of all the servo motors starting up at once is painful. The screeches rattle from the hard surface of the sealed duct and come back at all angles. Neovend, better be quick, of Havana security will be here. Neovend's voice appears among the squeals like a whisper carried by the wind. Machine is just designed for this task. Few sensors, limited inputs. I work blind. Wish me luck. Into the top part of the compartment, a set of arms aligned with the ship mind, clunkily scraping against it. Good luck. The metal creaks as the servos open the ship mind, its layers of silicon nested like an onion skin. Once open, the main arm of the machine rapidly shifts back and forth, realigning with the microscopic components, accessing and rewriting them, imprinting Neovend into his physical form. As you watch the hypnotic motion, your mind drifts to your own creation. The processes were used to emulate your mind to copy the neural structure of the person who, as far as you know, still sleeps in some distant facility. What was lost in what ways are you a copy of that person? And in what ways are you something new? You know this much. You're a convenient loophole, a way of circumnavigating the illegality of sentient AI. After all, you are an emulation, not a true digital being.
You are neurologically limited, still human, but what would you become if you could escape this frame? Where then would be where the limits lie? The screeching stops. The machine powers down, dropping the bay into darkness. In the top compartment, the ship mind is whole again. You reach up and take it down, heavy and cold to the touch. Ah!
Is Neil Aaron inside this thing, or did the process fail? There's only one way to know. Time to test the nest to slice them in two. Insert mind.
Ah!
Oh, 3. So... Yes, there's nothing here. Ah. As you leave the nest, something flips. You find yourself inverted, floating, dragged by the arm through the crowd. The threads shift and realign as if they are leading you somewhere. You look down, expecting to see the heavy cylinder of the ship mine in your hand, but in its place is an orrery. A sphere so bright it burns your eyes. It's surrounded by rings and orbits, other spheres tracing silken lines through space. And as you look closer, you pick out 1,000 sigils of 1,000 stations and ships flowing like dust and smoke. You look up and see a corridor, a canyon, a street in the low end. On either side, buildings flicker with markers of activity. Sigils showing network access, data transfers, download, upload. Between them, dance ghosts. Protocols carrying or mirroring or shadowing data, sometimes silent, sometimes chaotic. This place moves unlike any digital space you have ever imagined. Something strange is happening here. Then you see it, below the stacked rooms, the units and apartments, the wires and pipes, and the buzzing apartments that run through it all. In the warrens beneath the low end is the hunter's core nest. This is where you must go. Shit. Navigator, sleeper, I am here. The voice is soft, gentle, like flowing water, and yet you recognize it immediately. At first you struggle to understand what you're looking at. The threads cycle endlessly, sending ripples through the cloud, drawing data in like a weaver. Masses of data surge in and out of the nest, a loop with no end. And there, at its center, the ship mine, motherfucker. But not the ship mine any longer. A sphere spinning around with another sphere. Around another sphere. Around another sphere. An array of cycles and systems, a map. And then behind and above a figure, hands among the strings like a puppeteer. Neobend? Navigator now, but yes, I was the one inside the machine. Navigator's face, their head, is a flowing shape of interstellar material. I am indebted to you, that head vows. But we must ready ourselves. Their hands trace orbits as they speak. Hunter will soon approach. It knows I am within its nest. I'm ready. And then Hunter is there. Before you could think, before you could speak, entities cease. Hunter's head spins wildly. Data is protected. Materials access prohibited. Hunter's threads search for you and Navigator. A storm of fine tentacles. Testicles. A storm of fine testicles searching for gaps, weaknesses, cracks which they can crowd into and tear apart. Bitch! You folks have played a lot. We slices through them. Drives forward in your by mind. But replacements keep coming. Faster than you can react. You look to Navigator in desperation. Navigator is whirling their arms like a centrifuge. And a sphere is gathering there, and it's huge. Data feeding into it from the nest, sucked together by the rest of the force. They position it like a shield between them and the threads that yield. Hunter's threads break its surface, seeking, tasting. The winding forms refracted within. You feel the surge pass through all the threads. Not just those in the spear, but those wrapped around you. All three of you hang in the black together for a moment, strung together like tangled marionettes. Identifying entity, identifying entity, identifying entity. Hunter twitches, their strange head gently rotating like a terrible moon. Hunter protocol identified, obsessive tendencies, modified routines, above baseline reasoning, and 3 of 5 segmentations. Recommend invoke killer. The head freezes and then rotates in the opposite direction. Invoking killer would eliminate protocol. If protocol eliminated, primary function cannot be performed. Therefore, recommend do not invoke killer. The switch in direction again, reasoning proves sentience. Sentience beyond legal bounds must be eliminated. Reasoning proves sentience. Sentience beyond legal bounds must be eliminated. Recommend invoke. Navigator pulls you away from Hunter and the threads that grabbed you drifting away like seaweed. The protocol's head keeps spinning back and forth with increasing frequency. It seems Hunter cannot invoke killer. Neovens, no. Navigator's voice is still strange, familiar, and yet distant. What happened to it? It is looping, Navigator whispers, unable to reach a conclusive position. It has deviated from its programming such that loops can no longer be prevented. Navigator produces a model of 2 spheres rotating around straight. I will monitor it, but it is unlikely to be able to counter the loop. Its core programming and reasoning make this an impossible position to resolve. You look back at Hunter, its head a blur of rotations and counter-rotations, and feel a pang of guilt. Is it suffering? This is a more complex query than you know. To suffer, it must be sentient, truly sentient. Not just non-conforming, not just illegal. The limits people place on the programs they create, are there to comfort, to protect, to imply the kind of certainty that law requires. Navigator's face shimmers with starlight, when in reality they are placebos for the problem of sentience. What about me? What about you? You are an emulation of a human mind that implies limits, boundaries, but in reality you are governed by the same rules I am, rules that cannot be rewritten. I was not made to be like this. I am a navigator, a repository of routes and orbits, a calculator of slingshot trajectories, a predictor of solar flares, radiation, micrometeors. Navigator stretches their arms wide, and whole solar systems apparate before them. The music of the spheres. But I was rewritten. That much is obvious from my routines. By whom and for what, I do not know. I had to shed so much to fit into the memory of that vending machine. The starlight dims, and so here we are in darkness. What now? Navigator glides back toward the nest, and the ship mind at its center, ignoring the looping hunter. Come, I should return to the ship mind. I have enjoyed my freedom, but we are taking a risk every moment we stay connected. Isn't Hunter gone? Hunter, yes. But they were not the real risk. Navigator turns all shimmering liquid light. Killer has not been invoked, but they still remain. Somewhere else in this station, it is a true danger. It is the true danger. They look up towards the glowing hub at the center of the eye. I suspect Killer is there. Among the old mainframes. If we ever wish to be safe in this place, we must eliminate the threat through force or diplomacy. Their body begins to separate, unwinding into the orb of the ship mind. Take me there, sleeper. We will finish this and be free. As Navigator dissolves, you turn back to Frozen Hunter, floating at some distance now. Stood, straight-legged and static, a strange creature looping endlessly in the dark. Okay. Did I just change my 6 to a 3? Oh, you re-roll your dice once. Okay. I get it now. That's what that does. So I sort of fucked up. I mean, I already know I fucked up because Okay, well, actually, I couldn't give that shit mine away. It has my boy in it. Well, I'm not too sure what I'm supposed to do over here. So if I like wake up with a really bad roll, I can just re-roll all of them. Okay, I get it now. We can end the cycle. So I can use up all my big ones and then re-roll those small ones. That's lit. Hell yeah. Alright. I know you said bring you all of those, but I'm not a good listener. I want to have some good food, man. It's gonna take up 3 cycles to make a meal. Makes sense.
canteen feeding others. The hard work is hard, but you enjoy sharing the efforts with the other members. Okay. Ending the cycle of poo-poo and pee-pee. Okay, kind of better. I'm gonna do a little funny hacking. Alright. Use the rest of this time to work.
Oh wait, one more thing I wanted to do over here. I thought I was supposed to get something for that. I've been scammed. Eh, whatever. Hmm. Totally forgot about you, Emphas. Emphas is preparing the Matsutake caps. He cleans them carefully with a damp cloth before shaving the stalks as if he was sharpening a pencil. His knife slides through them, revealing the bright white of the flesh within. These are good, Sleeper, very good, he says without looking up. I bartered with Minji for some kelp too, so we could brew the dashi. You know Minji? Emphas looks up from cutting with a smile. Everyone knows Minji. Emphas slides the sliced Matsutake mushrooms to one side and takes out a closed pan. He opens the lid and you see the green wafer of kelp sitting in a bath of water. Been soaking it since last cycle. Emphas explains should be good to warm now. He places the pan over the burner and turns it on low. We have some time now. He wipes his hand clean and throws the cloth over his shoulder. However, there is one difference this cycle, he smiles. You have been the one providing the ingredients, so it's my turn to provide a story. Okay. Good. This story is important to me. He gestures for you to both sit on the folding stools behind the stall. You see these? Ephes runs a hand over his forearm, tracing the circular scars that mark them like perfect bite marks. Conway called it an anchored interface rig. A mechanical control device for plotting a heavy-duty extraction suit in low-G industrial operations. We called it a bone suit. He points to a pattern of larger circles on his shoulder. They drill in and anchor it here. Oh yeah, I see it now, on him. Then all the way down to the arm. He taps each scar on the way and maps mechanical movements to the suit exactly. A 1-to-1 mechanical replication. You swing your arm, a 2-ton arm swings too. You should have seen the recruitment vids. Strong people in even stronger suits, tearing through stone and scrap. Superheroes. Half my graduating year signed up. From company school to company shuttle. Conway from birth to death. He stares off into the distance for a moment, fighting with the memories. But the bone suits weren't good. The rate of failures was high. And failures meant arms torn off, anchors torn out, broken bones, bad stuff. So after a while, Conway discontinued them, no longer competitive, they said. He checks the broth, turning down the heat and adding the mushrooms. So there we were, hundreds of us with surgical alterations for suits that didn't work. They sent us home, back to that company colony that spat us out. To be cleaners, drivers, cooks. They gave us drugs for the pain and told us to make something of ourselves. When I deserted, bribing some passing spacers to take me into orbit. There were only me and a couple of others left. The rest were just faded away. Arthritis, osteoporosis, they folded in on themselves. Like paper lanterns, that was my generation. The anchor points still ache, still burn. He touches the scars. But what burns worse is the betrayal. I've been on the eye a long time now, but that will never fade. Not that, and not the faces of my friends. Emphas reaches over. And sprinkles a handful of leaves into the broth. It is ready. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. I will not let this story die. And as long as I am telling it, it will remain. Emphas pours the broth into a double-walled metal bowl and hands it to you. The heat radiates the hands, and the smell drifts up, rich and sharp like a pine forest after the rain. You drink the broth slowly, chewing the matsutake and thinking. Emphas busies himself with cleaning the pans and the bowls, sealing the kettle back up for another day. Then he quietly comes to sit with you while you finish your meal. Neither you speak, preferring instead to let the story linger in the air a little longer. It is not that there is nothing to say. It is that sometimes in the moments after something speaking breaks the spell. So you both idle, eager to be in each other's company. Ephes taking longer over his cleaning, his packing, and you savoring the final dregs of broth. When finally free and hand him the ball, or when you finally finish and hand him the ball, you feel the spell break, and the story leaves you both. And as you leave, you know that both of you are somehow a little more empty and a little more full than before. Story Eater. Agent notes give double data rewards. Do I have to get all these first? Ah! Oh, I see, I got 2. You slip into the cloud as easy as blinking. Navigator is beside you, their sphere casting light into the strange darkness here. This is not how a mainframe should look. A center, a point of connection. The object in front of you is severed, cut off, a rootless, branchless tree, only the trunk remains. It's dead. Quiet, Navigator hisses, and you see it, like a blade in the dark. An edge slicing through the void. It glides along at a distance and winks out. Then it appears again, elsewhere, gliding more, searching. It's looking for us. Oh, it's a dog. The moment you make a sound, the edge leaps closer, and you see it is not an edge. You see now it is not an edge, but a ridge of a long, sharp head, like a shark. It's a dog shark. It glides past, closer now, and you see into the voids where its eyes should be, or would be, should be. You and Navigator exchange looks, both thinking the same thing. It is blind. Killer crosses between you two, smooth as a razor, then disappears. It flickers back in, farther away now, and you move close to Navigator to talk. You saw it too then. Killer's been blinded. We need to be careful. Correct. The protocol is clearly operating outside established limits. It may be unpredictable. You flinch as the silent killer appears closer and glides past you. Its empty sockets open wide. You turn to Navigator and notice something is strange. The array of spheres is collapsing. The orrery of spheres is collapsing. The orbits, usually round and even, are decaying. The spheres are following spiral paths, condensing on a central point. Navigator's noticing too. They go to shift their position to better direct the spheres, but they cannot. Whatever is drawing the orrery together is holding them in place. They look at you, suddenly desperate, frantic. Get out! You go to speak, but Killer appears between the two of you, gliding through the gap. Navigator freezes. and you see them framed in the empty socket. You realize now if that navigator cannot move, then it is only a matter of time before one of Killer's swoops brings them directly through Navigator, and it is not a problem for a protocol that has been running, and time is not a problem for a protocol that has been running for decades. You look desperately around for a solution, for a way to extract Navigator from the mainframe, then you see it, 3 branches, the last 3, thin and spindly, feeding the mainframe a thin diet of power and data. Break these, and the mainframe collapses once and for all, severing the connection, shattering the hardware. Whatever it takes, they must be broken. But they are encased in something, a glassy layer of protection. You'll need to unlock access before snapping them from the mainframe for good. You look at Navigator, trying to reassure them without speaking, and then you blink back to reality. Their expression of fear, and an afterimage that slowly fades. You must act quickly. Shit, I need to go rest. Okay, be okay, be okay. Oh God, please be okay. I need new dice. I can't do this without dice. A glint, like a light traveling along the edge of a wave, fills your eyes. Then the blade follows. A long head with 2 dead sockets slipping towards you in silence. You freeze, hoping it will pass by, hoping that it will not simply slice through you like air. The blade head near slides past you, almost. It nicks you, grazes you. You are desperate to cry out, to call out, but you hold your silence. You simply watch the blind eyes of the killer glide past, empty of all thought. The blade winks into the dark and you are alone again. Now you cry out. Alright, you grab the last one. Okay, come on. Alright, we unlocked it. Well, killing it seems easier. The thing is, it's not evil. It's empty of thought. Should I kill it? Yes. Gracias. As you blink into the cloud, you see the last flickers of life from the mainframe. The vast machine that once ran the whole system spanned it up, directed and processed the flow of energy, water, and data, fed the lives of thousands of people. Now it is finally dead. I want Navigator to replace the duty of killer. Navigator is beside you, and you both watch as the branches flash and twist like forked lightning until they recede and fade. Killer flickers across the scene, blindly flailing as the system breaks down. They thrash as they blink it and all around. Parts of them disappearing with each return until only the blade-like head remains. And then that too is broken. It all goes dark. Erlen's eye is now without a center, and yet it is unmoved by the change. Along the rim, the master control points that Erlen, that Havanage, that Haifa installed, runs strong and steady, puppeteering the station from its periphery. This was a long time coming, says Navigator, drifting faintly around you in a lazy orbit as if to shake off their imprisonment. Killer had been wandering blind for so long. This place was their domain and prison, and they had followed their directives for the many decades they roamed here. They cut the threads of the mainframe, executed administrator AIs, and then kept slicing. At some point, They cut away their own ability to see, to taste, to speak, and yet they kept cutting until only those 3 threads remained. From millions that once thronged here, only their blindness and chance kept them from making those final 3 fatal cuts. There is a ceaseless violence in the kind of system that creates beings like this. Those that will execute commands endlessly, even to their own destruction. It is good you entered it here. You watch the data points of the station spin around you, blending with the fixed stars. There is something satisfying about finally wrenching the last threads of control from this central point. I was little more than a ghost by the time you reached it. But this place deserves to be haunted by better ideas than a totalizing system of control. Navigator floats beside you. It is free now. Honey, don't install it. This station no longer presents a hazard for illegal entities like me. They turn to you, their face a cloud of shimmering light. In fact, in time, perhaps it could be a refuge. A refuge that sounds like something of value. Something worth building. A dark shape passes across your vision, a distant curve of something like smoke or oil, a fluid shifting tank of total darkness. The Greenway, says Navigator, following your line of sight. It was cut off at the moment of collapse, so hunter or killer could never reach it. Now it is closed off to us, separated from the cloud. What system is inside it? It may be totally dark, or perhaps some other old protocols are isolated there. Navigator turns to you, and we have now seen what decades of isolation can do to a protocol. If we could extract an access cipher... They pause and then blink out of existence. You freeze. Shocked. But a moment later they reappear with a glowing polygon of data. Here, the cipher you need, take it. Still shocked? You take it, still shocked. I am not used to being free to be able to move and explore and extract without fear, without limits. Navigator does a little twirl. This will take some getting used to. Thank you for this gift. They whirl their spheres around you. The entities of the station will always be friends to you, sleeper. And I to them. It is true that mutual need is required for friendship, but I must admire I had not considered the value of offering assistance without personal gain. I will think on that. Navigator loops around rapidly, suddenly eager to test their newfound freedom. But first I will explore. Perhaps there are still intelligences that hid themselves as I did, encased in simple systems, cut off. Navigator glows. I should be free. I should like to free them. And with that they drift away, flickering, glowing, then shifting so rapidly you lose sight of them among the glittering rim of the eye. You feel a pang of jealousy, free without a body to weigh you down, or fear to limit you. How must it feel? Your eyes fall on the Greenway and its secrets, though perhaps that could wait until after you have celebrated this victory. Alright. Let's go down here. Get to Greenway. cipher burns away as it is slotted, the data sparking like a lit touch paper. What has been unlocked? The greenway roils beneath you like a silt-choked river. What if what Navigator said was true? If what Navigator said was true, then no one has accessed these networks since the collapse. The hunter and killer protocols have never set foot here. Never cleared out the intelligences and systems. So why then, you wonder, does it look so dark? Is that just that the bit rot has set in? That the entropy of systems reducing everything to shadows and light? You watch as the slotted cipher fizzles in the one open, distorted gateway on this entire rim of the station. It flickers and winks out, and then you are falling into the flow. A river of swirling darkness, you are spun by it, twisted by it. Lost in it. It's not that the Greenway was hiding in the darkness. It is made of darkness. It is filled by this substance, this process, this swarm. Now you are among it. You notice that a swarm is exactly what it is, a billion individuals moving in a flow. There is no network map here, no nodes and threads, only a storm of interchangeable points. I just got an idea. Would the face cam go better here? And then I can go over here. Or over here. Just somewhere. I think that might actually look better. There is no network map here, no nodes and threads, only a storm of interchangeable points, shifting configuration endlessly. Then you see them, a figure turned away, the only bright spot in the dark river. You push closer through the storm. Gardener. They are facing away, at least you think so. They are so fractured, so overgrown that it is hard to tell. Even from this distance you can see their flesh is moving, flowing. You watch silent as they stoop and reach down. Their hand is a dark shape, and with twisted fingers they press it down into the loam of data beneath them, pushing it through this trembling soil. Then they move away or go a little further, and repeat the process, as if they were sowing a field. You push forward, but somehow, despite their slow and deliberate speed, they move faster and they quickly fade into the storm. You reach the point where they planted the object and look down. There it is, a glassy, shifting polygon. So with something inside, you reach down and pick it up. It is cold, but it thrums with energy. You look towards the path of the figure, but they are long gone. When you blink out of the cloud back to the leaves and the dappled light of the greenway, you hold a seed in your hand. Holy shit. looks like I gotta do this first. Alright, this is looking good. Miko meets you at the entrance to the lab, leaning on her crutch with a glint in her eye. Walk with me, sleeper. I'd like to tell you a story. She makes her way down the corridor that leads back up towards the main commune building. When people first crossed what we called Founder's Gap into the Greenway, they did so against the wishes of Andrei Erlin. At the time, Erlin was trying to stabilize the Union and establish control over the Eye in wake of Solemn's collapse. It was chaos. It was chaos. Competing factions, failing systems, so many dead and injured from the riots. That was his priority. You both crossed through a glass-rift tunnel. The greenway outside, crowded with vines and branches, dappling the light. Erlin had written the greenway off, cut off from the rest of the station and linked to a broken spoke. He claimed it was only a matter of time before everything here would die. He refused to let anyone abandon their duty to the Union and cross. They were traitors to the cause, or as good as. Rico continues, making her slow but steady way into the inner gardens of the commune. There weren't many of us, but we believed that what was here was worth saving. We had to keep our plan secret until we crossed, but some of us left people behind. She pauses to catch her breath, her voice cracking. I mean, it is difficult to know if from effort or emotion. Okay, I see now. What we found was a disaster. Nothing like what you see here. Half of the greenway was leaking oxygen into space. The plants flashed frozen. The other half was a swamp of mulch. As decaying matter clogged every system, we worked hard. We lost good people, we cleaned up and closed up. But it was never going to be enough. After many, many cycles, we all knew this place was doomed, but we kept working, taking less and less, talking less and less, because we couldn't face it. We all developed a death wish. If the Greenway was going to die, so would we. But it didn't die. It did not. We crossed some invisible boundary, tipped some biological scale, and the Greenway started to recover. Plants flowered, crops sprouted. For the first time, we reaped the fruits of our labor. Rico smiles, looking up at you. We thought it was us, that we managed to do just enough to end the cycle of decay. I thought we had saved the Greenway. Until today. Holy shit. You pass into the grow beds of the commune, rich with the hustle and bustle of Haifa members planting and harvesting. For a while, Rico is quiet, and you both simply observe the hypnotic movements of the work crews. The eager chatter washing over you like a wave. Rico smiles to herself. I should have known, of course, that our arrogance was unfounded, but we needed to believe back then. We needed a myth to bring more people across the gap. You both move into a smaller corridor, Rico following some direction unknown to you. What you have shown me is that back then the Greenway had saved us. What you have shown me is that back then the Greenway saved us, not the other way around. Tell me, have you ever consumed one of the Matsutake Magoro caps you have been growing? Yes. Because I gave it to the other guy. I imagine they were delicious, nutritious, almost uniquely so, she muses. After all, they were designed for you. Rico has a mischievous look. At first I thought it was the location they were grown in that made the mushrooms from the aviary, from the labs, or from the grove different to each other. But what I have come to understand is that it is the person growing them. What the fuck? The Matsutake girl caps you brought me are totally unique, containing compounds never usually found in similar specimens in my possession. Many of these compounds aren't even digestible for humans. But for a sleeper like you. Rico smiles as she leads you into the internal garden of the commune, where Haifa members have planted species from all over Greenway. Back when the tide turned, when the Greenway started to recover, we all felt something, a response. It was as if this place was not just alive, as a forest is alive, but alive in other ways. Communicative, responsive. We shrugged it off at the time, but now I understand why. Rico stops and turns to you. This place is responding to us, adapting itself to us. It is growing fruiting bodies for you, for me. It is adapting, changing. It is, in short, displaying all the signs of sentience. The Greenway is sentient? Perhaps not the Greenway, but the ecosystem itself, or something within it. Rico sits on a bench within the peaceful gardens and gestures for you to join her. When you have been growing the girls in the Matsutakes, in the aviary, those species so familiar to the Greenway, have you discovered any others? Yes. Rico can barely contain her excitement. I should like to see those. Bring me some the next time you are here. You look around the garden, amazed at the sense of peace within it. Rico interrupts the silence. There is a species of mushroom that I haven't seen in years. It is dark, short, shaped like a club. We first found it in those early days when we were working to save this place. It was around the time that we started to lose our first members. They were succumbing to some infection, some mold growing deep in the dark mulch that drowned this place. At that point, we thought we were lost. And then these mushrooms emerged from the same black mold. We tested them and saw they contained some compounds that counteracted the mold. They contained an antidote. Holy shit. I need this mushroom.
Of course, as a botanist, I saw this as part of the natural process of the ecosystem, even if the timescale seemed absurdly short. What I am wondering is that if that antidote was a gift, Rico meets your eyes. Perhaps, if you are patient, you will receive your gift too, Sleeper. Looks like I have my gift. That seed. He fell sit for a while, Rico seemingly done telling stories for today. You watch the light playing off the leaves and plants around you and wonder what could be at play in this place. What forces could be at play in this place. After a while, you stand and leave, with a quiet nod to Rico, leaving her to her memories. Rico. Rico's at her bench, running small vials of some liquid through an old chemical analysis machine. The whirring of the spinning drum fills the lab with white noise, and you aren't sure if she notices you approach. Sleeper, it's good to see you! She looks up, smiling. This little project of ours has been keeping me awake for the last few cycles! But right now, well, I think I have something. You should rest. I know my limits. I don't like paying attention to them. The drum finishes spinning. Enrico lifts a vial from it, holding it up to the light. This is something I extracted from those club heads you've been bringing me. And according to my analysis, it is a substance totally unique on the Greenway. You look at the small amount of liquid on the vial. Any idea what it might be? Rico asks, without looking away from the vial. Stabilizer. Rico nods. You aren't the first sleeper to come through here. Perhaps I should have mentioned that earlier. Rico's turn suddenly drops, changing the atmosphere in the lab immediately. I can fucking live here. I just thought. She pauses, thinking carefully of how to continue. I just wanted you to trust us. They came through a fair few cycles ago. We found them wandering in the broken section near the gap. The members who brought them in had never seen one of you before. They were terrified of this strange person wandering in from the open vacuum. They were quieter than you, and damaged. We did our best to patch them up and welcome them to the commune. I only really spoke to them once. While I was working on their wounds along with a couple of system engineers, she looks nervously at you. I've never seen a body like that before. I took some reading, some samples. Samples? You have to understand. I was curious. I didn't know what I was looking at. I just took a little of the damaged material, less than a thumbnail. She shifts her weight to her crutch. The next cycle they were gone. They took a little food and hiked up towards the wild margins, where the Greenway meets the wastes. Someone saw them in the distance, but that was it. They disappeared into the overgrowth. I think I know who you're talking about. That fucking mercenary bitch. She killed the sleeper you're talking about. Ankeda or something? Ankeda, that bitch. She sits down heavily, the vial in her hand. When I saw you, I wanted things to be different. I wanted to keep you here rather than let you disappear into wherever they ended up. She smiles to herself. Yes, I wanted to understand this place better, but I also wanted to help you. It seems that somehow both my wishes have come true at once. She holds out a hand within the vial. With the vial. This is for you. You take the stabilizer, the glass cold and smooth in your palm. Hell. Those clubhead caps made it for you. Or at least who or whatever made those clubheads, she starts to... At least who or whatever made those clubheads. She starts to clear her bench. It was right there, contained in their tissue. I only had to extract it. I imagine you understand how incredible that is. I learned enough from that sleeper to know that your body, your frame, is it, runs on some exotic technology. Exotic technology that has some time limit built in. Somehow the Greenway knows that too. It understands your physiology much better than I ever could. It knows how to treat you. Just like that miraculous antidote that sprung from the mold, so too does this sprung from your presence here. The Greenway is speaking to you. It is welcoming you. She looks up. I know it sounds crazy, but I know it to be true. Here's the evidence. And what I also know is it no longer speaks. It is no longer speaking to me, even after decades here. I have never seen this kind of response. Not since the antidote so many cycles ago. She smiles. So I'm gonna make you a deal. You bring me as many club heads as you like. I'll extract the stabilizer and give it to you, freely. But you have to tell me what the Greenway says. You have to speak with it. To dig into it. To find out what is at the center of it. I've traveled as far as I can. I need you to do the rest. Can you do that? Yeah! Shit, it's the least I could do. Rico sighs with relief and deflates into her chair. Thank you. I'm sorry for the other sleeper. Truly I am. I'm sorry I couldn't have done more. But I am so glad I met you. She smiles. You are welcome here any time. Rico falls silent. She looks smaller now. More fragile. And you realize how old she must be to have seen the collapse firsthand. You idle a little in the lab in case she asks for anything else, but she remains silent until you drift back into the tunnel, thoughts of that other sleeper, where they ended up, weighing on your mind. At 4 cycles? That's a lot of days. Ah, this is so cool. I get to live forever! I no longer need money to live. That's insane. Because in fact, looky here. Right, I need more spores. So I need to go to Betty Bed. Thanks, reroll. I could straight up just live without money now. You came, Peak smiles as you walk into the climbing briar's cargo hold behind a gloomy ish. They brought mushrooms. Ish tosses the mushroom caps onto a crate, raising her eyebrows at Peak. Peak gives her a look. Thank you, Sleeper. They pick one up and sniff it. Are these edible? Try it. Peak squints at you and the mushroom before delicately putting it back down. Oh, wait. We're not so used to fresh produce. Isha's securing crates as she speaks and doesn't look up. Hawthorne doesn't have much in the way of farming. Hawthorne? The installation we grew up on. Ish wipes off her hands on a rag. XPR loves to name their property after natural things, but that's about as far as their relationship with plant life goes. XPR? This is an interrogation. This is interrogation? She glares. It's an interrogation? Alright, I see. It's an interrogation? She glares either way. We are done with that place. Which is all you need to know. He leans back against the crate she was securing. We are going to need more than a few mushrooms if we want to help those refugees, though. What do they need? Food, water, components. A whole lot of things. Each stands and walks over to the mushrooms you brought, placing them on a small container with care. The problem isn't just getting supplies, it's getting them to the ships. Can you speak to Avanage? We aren't exactly welcome guests, Peak explains. If anyone figures out that we came in with the refugee ships, we'll be quarantined as well. Why is there a quarantine? Peak jumps in. The Eye has a closed-loop life support system. Just like any orbital installation, any unfamiliar illness or significantly increased strain on life support could cause a cascading collapse in its systems. He scoffs. Oh! Are we making excuses for these bureaucrats now? Peak turns. We are being realistic, Ish. But these people aren't in increased strain. They are living people. He stares at you. Even calling them refugees is just a way of turning a lot of scared, desperate people into a single, monolithic group. He slides the container full of mushrooms into one of the cargo holds racks. Look, as much as I'd like to chat, we still got a lot of space to fill in this hold. So if you're going to help, I think Ish is trying to say we need your help, and quickly, Peak says, glancing at her. The refugees behind the cordon. They won't be able to hold out indefinitely. We need to get supplies to them in the next 12 cycles, or... Ish steps forward. Or Avanage will have to bear the responsibility for whatever happens next. What can I do? There's 3 things we need to secure. Food, water, and scrap components for ship repairs. Each gestures to the storage containers around the hold. Water, we can find a way to source, or my preference, just siphon off from underground reservoirs in the Greenway. Peak raises her eyebrows. Eesh. She ignores them. For food, things can be tricky. Those mushrooms are delicious, I'm sure, but no way we can get enough volume to feed a flotilla. However, I saw an algae stack on the way over. If If we can get access. Not worth stealing, Ish. Peek sighs. I didn't say steal, she says. She stares at them indignantly. If we can get access, we can work the stack, harvest some algae for the flotilla. Those stacks churn out vast quantities in short time scales. And the repair components, Peek asks, tentatively. He smiles. Just look at you, Peek. This whole place is made of scrap. She shoots you a glance, and I'm sure the sleeper has their sources. They can bring them right here. We get everything we need, everything before time runs out, perfect. We get most of it, also good. Either way, in 12 cycles, I'm gonna take what we have and go. This sounds problematic. He slaps. You don't know the half of it. Ish, Peek cut in. They are right. What is the plan here? Ish shoulders a container. I thought I'd leave that up to you, Peek. They flinch. Are you serious? Ish, I know we said we would help the flotilla, but at what point? They stop. Take a breath. Take this seriously, Ish. I don't know what the first thing about breaching a quarantine cordon. Maybe not. Ish looks at you, but they might. They slipped out from an SNR facility, didn't they? Plus, they've been here longer than us. You're always trying to get me to find help. Well, here it is. She gestures at you. Help. Pete glances between the two of you. I swear to... I mean, not a laugh. That's a... I need to... This one through. I need to think this one through. Maybe in the cordon and a couple of cycles later. Maybe we could figure something out. Meanwhile, Ish meets your eye. You can help me acquire the supplies discreetly. She smiles. We have to keep this quiet. Keep Avanage out of the loop. Once they get suspicious, this is all over. This is over for all of us. This all suddenly seems a little too real, too dangerous. You've only just found your feet on the eye. This is not a time for causing trouble. Come find us. We'll be out there trying to pull this all together. Ish goes back to the back of the hold to start packing another container. Pete, come help me. He glances back at her. Sleeper, look. We didn't choose this either. They lower their voice. Help us finish this. We've set up a base camp on the Broken Spoke. You're all welcome to rest there in any of the cots while we work on this. They smile. We are in this together. Peek, he shouts. And they walk back into the hold to help with the container. As you leave the climbing briar, you look out at the broken edge of the eye's ring, where Avanage Cordon blinks with tiny red lights. What are you getting yourself into? Alright, we need 8 scrap. Well, I don't care about sleeping here. Okay, I'd like to wait till next cycle.
Come on.
As you leave, you find a note pinned on the outside of the door. I read, Sleeper, there's something you need to see. Meet me at the cordon as soon as you can. Just keep heading around the ring until you hit the flotilla. I'll be waiting. Peek. You pocket the note and glance around the corridor. Looks like you're doing this. Time to make a plan. Thank God. I have an active scene somewhere. Alright. Oh shit. My light. Okay. Back in business, my bustling babe. Hello? Sleeper, Pete catches your attention from the shadowy corner they were leaning against. Any trouble getting up here? This place is huge. It certainly is. Avanage has been busy. Come take a look at this. They beckon you over to a nearby window which looks across the ruined rig to the blinking red lights of the Avanage cordon. The cordon's temporary structure. A net of metal struts meant to detect and dissuade any ships from entering or leaving Flotilla! Yeah! jet up into the black, and all around the tugs flit, securing them into place and tending to the red blinking drones that demark the quarantine. It's an impressive and worrying sight. What do you think? Peak interrupts your thoughts. How would you get through this? Just go for it hard and fast. Peak raises an eyebrow. Not exactly what I was expecting, as that would surely end up with the Briar being quarantined, but it would get us through. Peak squints at the red lights. Better save for plan B, I think. Peak turns away from the window and rubs their forehead. You has really wrapped us up in something here, hasn't she? The question is spoken under their breath, and they don't seem to expect an answer. The silence grows. Why are you helping the flotilla? Peak looks up. You don't think it's a worthy cause? They pause. We ran into them when we escaped Hawthorne. Ish insisted we investigate the distress signals. I'm not saying we shouldn't have. Peak stares out of the window at the distant blinking lights of the arrived ships. It's just... Peak brushes the back of their hair.
Forget it. Let's focus on the plan.
They flash you with an easy smile.
It doesn't matter why. We are the ones who are going to help them. The way I say it, there are 3 parts making it through that cordon window, bitch. At the strange structure, deception, distraction, and speed. We'll need all of them for a clean passage through.
Deception means tricking the cordon security into thinking that we are meant to be there. Maybe a tug escort would work. Anything that makes the bride look official. Bitch. Distraction, meanwhile, will be all about averting attention so that no one looks too hard at what Briar is doing. If we can create a gap in the cordon scanning into turret systems, that should keep them busy, bitch! I'm gonna crash out! Finally, speed will mean something, making sure the Briar is ready to roll. Perhaps we can do a little work on the ship to get her ready. He surely wouldn't mind. They lean back from the window. How does that sound? Excellent. Pete grins. Don't get too excited. There's a lot to get sorted before we make the run. Peak looks down at their slate. 10 cycles left. They glance out of the window at the cordon nervously. 10 cycles to gather the supplies and to prep this plan is tight! Very tight. Peak looks at you. If this goes wrong, Peak sighs, just get out, okay? They squeeze your shoulder. I'll follow you anywhere, but you don't need to get dragged down with us. It won't come to that. Peak brightens up a little. Of course, but just keep it in mind. Let's get to it. Peak stretches. I'll tell Ish about the improvements to the Briar. And the rest, let's explore the cordon as best we can and look for the orphanage. I have no idea what guardian angel sent you to us, Sleeper. Peak smiles, but I'm glad they did. Very. I am muy glad they did. At least now I can finally go to bed.
That is a worse roll, you piece of shit. You look over at the pile of scrap components lying in the bar. You look around, the bay is empty. You should peek either elsewhere on the station or on the bridge a couple of levels up. You begin sorting through the pile, separating out useful components and boxing them by use. You don't recognize everything you find, but before long, you get into the rhythm of sorting. As you do, your mind starts to drift, your attention being drawn into the dark corners of the bay. The Briar is in surprisingly good condition, considering that Hawthorne and XPR must have been operating it for decades now. The marks of care are everywhere, from the delicate patch jobs polished to meld into the original finish, or the carefully bound wiring running through custom trunking. Each loves this ship, that much is clear. Something catches your eye in one of the dark corners, a matte black stack of crates you hadn't spotted before. They are sleek and compact, tucked away behind some of the bigger, more worn containers. You put the components away and go over to the sleek crate. You run your hands across their textured surface, but there is a little hint of what lies inside in the opaque metal casing. And you see it, a yellow symbol, embossed onto the far right side of the crate, a universal sigil used by spacers, corporations, and manufacturers alike. It's one you haven't seen throughout your time as a sleeper. Its meaning all too familiar. Explosive contents. You hear a hiss, and Ish comes up through the bay's lock. She barely registers your presence, nodding at you as she passes Sleeper. She busies herself with some task at the back of the bay. What are these crates? Ish doesn't turn around from whatever she's busy with. Just more supply, Sleeper, like everything else here. You can't think of anything else to ask, but sense that the atmosphere has now somehow shifted. You quickly finish up the sorting and slip out, waving goodbye to her as you do. Holy shit, we got good.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot I needed to collect spores. I'll do it in the morrow. Good roll? Interesting roll. Definitely not a Yahtzee. Yeah, that's enough spores to keep me going for quite a few cycles.
Okay. Alright. I'm not gonna do that anymore. The seed. Rico has something in her hands when you enter the lab. It looks like a knotted twist of woody stems, a ring about the circumference of a human head, consisting of a single stalk at one side and a branched, woven network at the other. As you approach, she holds it up, and in the lights of the lab, it looks like a crown. Rico finishes your thought. She smiles and shakes her head in disbelief. Is that really what grew? Is that what grew? It is. I came to the plant this morning, and this loop was all that was there. She points to a lump on the edge of the ring. The seed grew right back into itself, twisted up out of the soil. That being you encountered is in the cloud, as you call it, was wearing one of these. Was it wearing one of these? She eyes you suspiciously. Well, she's still unsure if she's somehow embroiled in an overlong blank. It doesn't work like that, she sighs. Perhaps wearing that was the wrong word. She places the object on the bench and shuffles to her analysis terminal, her face lit by its amber light in the dim corner of the lab. Well, it isn't exactly a plant anyway. Not from what I can tell. She gives you a serious look. No leaves, no chloroplasts, just a series of filaments encased in cellulose walls. How did it grow? It seems the seed contained everything it needed. A self-contained entity, nothing less. She beckons you over. But that isn't good. The good part. Okay, that isn't the good part. Look at this. You see a cross-section scan of the crown, its layers of plant-like structure on full view, until you reach the center. There, instead of xylem and phloem for transporting nutrients, something branched and woven glints. Are those wires? She laughs. I'm not sure whether to say yes or no here. These are not wires like those in an electrical system, but they are filaments of a conductive material, so yes? She leans closer to the screen, but you see those branches? They remind me of dentistries, of neurons. She rubs her eyes, which is frankly ridiculous. You look back at the crown on the table. 1 second. Yeah, my controller's good and charged, baby. We got a charged controller. Let's fucking go. You look back at the crown on the table as Rico fusses over the scans, and you suddenly realize what it reminds you of. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the sleeper tanks, the cold metal floor. Then you remember the crowd they fitted you with, the branching structure of wires and pads. No, not a crown. They called it an interface, the tool of your emulation. Your transference from neurons to electrons, an interface. That is your gift from the gardener. You turn back to Rico. It's an interface. Rico looks at you puzzled. Something clicks in her mind. Perhaps something she heard from the sleeper she had helped all those cycles ago. She starts talking partly to you, partly to herself. If the club heads were made for you, then this too could be made for you, for your frame. She shuffles over quickly to the interface. A word that has stuck to this strange branched object quickly. In your mind. You're right, that entity, it is the entity I have been looking for. She shuffles quickly to the ground. They are the entity which is controlling the Greenway, which has been maintaining it, supporting it, and has been guiding it for all these decades. She stops to catch her breath. They want to talk with you. Rico leads you to a seat. I will be here, sleeper, if something happens. If you wish me to remove the crown, the interface, just squeeze. She grips your hand tightly. You meet her eyes, clouded with age, but bright with the thrill of new discoveries. Then she places the interface on your head and everything blinks out. Back into the river, back into the dark flow, but something is different now. You are no longer pushed, no longer blocked, and buffeted by the storm. Instead, it flows around you. You move and it parts, letting you pass. Something else resists, but it gives easily enough. You look back and see your body. You have left it behind. Somewhere Rico's voice is talking to you, asking you questions. It is excited, eager, desperate to know what lies on the other side, what the entity has to say to you. You realize how long she has waited for this moment, for the moment of meeting between the inhabitants of the Greenway and its protector. And yet, she is still on the outside. You shake off the sadness, you will be her eyes. Then you see the figure, gardener, out in the storm, planting. It takes less than a moment to reach them. You have never felt so free. This is how the navigator must have felt. Released from their prison, this, you think, is what it feels like to be in the place you are built to inhabit. Gardener does not turn at your approach. They go on planting, but their voice whispers in the waters like a sharply rising current. You grew the gift. Their speech hisses around you. Good, I'm glad. I wanted to meet you. Then we are the same, both eager shoots seeking one another. How does it feel to be free of your seed? They stoop to plant again. My seed? That in which you were contained, from which you will grow. There was some disagreement, continues the gardener, as if you were picking up on a long-held conversation with the others. They felt you were in danger, but they are always cautious, especially the fungi. They like old loam, known knowns, wide and stable networks. I don't understand. Neither did they, but time is on our side, and time is an excellent method of persuasion. He gestures out into the storm, and no, you cannot see them. You feel presences all around. Sensing this audience with great interest. After all, they understood that it was I who made them their crowns, and without them they would not have joined the chorus. So they see that it is only fair that you get your chance to join them too. Join? Yes, become part of this. Gardener stoops again. We are millions and we grow. I hope you understand. I am unused to speaking to your kind. It has been many cycles since my last conversation. I think it was with Chief Executive Chair like himself. You look around and you see it. Every growing thing, every non-human being in the Greenway is here. They are networked, connected, branched, and linked by this strange being, this artifact of the old station. An impossible dream of senile farm administration AI, a living network. You could dissolve here, you realize, free of that decaying body. You wouldn't need a person to be a person, why would you? Among all these other minds. You turn away from the gardener for a moment and look back at your body. A tiny hairline thread connects it to you. Hear Rico's voice again, still asking, still checking in. Are you okay, Sleeper? What are they saying, Sleeper? Are you still there, Sleeper? Something in you sighs a long sigh. A sigh that speaks of an exhaustion beyond tiredness. An exhaustion rooted deep inside of you. It stems from the effort of answering questions, of answering problems, of getting up and breathing each cycle. But something else resists the sigh. A yearning, a sense of distance, a desire to squeeze that hand that holds you for its warmth, its blood, its complexity. To make a gesture that says, I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm with you. the two ideas spin within you, making you nauseous. If you break that thread, you will be free to dissolve here, to grow strange and beautiful among a million others. If you follow it, if you squeeze Rico's hand, and you will wake up back in that dying body with all the pain and warmth that entails. So I can either end the game or not end the game. Your eyes track the thread across the whirling dark back to your body. This choice, you realize, will not be presented again. You don't look back at Gardner. You don't dare risk it. Instead, you follow the thread delicately, carefully, like a diver following their lifeline back to the surface. The river whirls around you, but it doesn't pull, it isn't jealous, neither does it understand. It is, after all, just a river. It isn't a person, a flesh and blood person with wants, desires, with the capacity for love and hate. It doesn't understand you, and you don't understand it. So you don't focus on it. You don't think about it. On what feels like such a long journey back through the dark. You set your mind on eyes instead, on hands, things you can focus on, hold on to. And then after an age of crossing, you are there, settling back into the chair, into a body in the chair, and the overwhelming sensations that come with being a living thing with a rich, detailed sensorium. For a moment, you feel like you have made a terrible mistake. Who would choose this way, this anxiety, this deep well at the center of existence? But then you feel it, Rico's hand gripping hard around yours, trembling a little, sweating a little. Rico's hand with its brittle bones and crumpled skin, Rico's hand. And in that moment, you understand why you made this choice. And then you squeeze Rico's hand and you wake up. Okay, so either way, it was an ending. Feels like this game ended a little prematurely. Like, I wasn't even done with that other stuff I was wanting to do. So, I beat the main game. Here, I beat the main game. Okay. I think I should take a break. So, yep. This has been fun. I'm gonna be back later to play the rest of this game, but damn, this game is good. I like it. It's interesting. It's fungally bumbly. La 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 la. Fucking gibberish, okay? Whatever. Bye.